Okay, so I'm going to try this again. I've been working on this all morning to try to make this work, but this is the information that I was going to share with you today about structuring the paragraph. So here we go. So the first thing I kind of want to explain to you guys is that you don't have to write a 5-paragraph essay. You likely started writing these in about middle school, and that was because you needed to learn some sort of organizational method or structure. But now that you've mastered that, you need to move on to different formats of writing. And a 5-paragraph essay is not going to allow you to talk about complex subjects that you're going to be talking about as a sophisticated adult writer. And so there are two general types of paragraphs. One is the one idea paragraph, and that's the one you've been writing forever, that you started learning how to write in elementary school and that you use in the 5-paragraph essay. The other type are subordinate paragraphs, and this is a sign of a true sophisticated writer. And it begins with a topic sentence, but the topic sentence is connected to the preceding paragraph. And it's an extension of the idea that was introduced in the previous paragraph. So it doesn't introduce a new idea, but it elaborates and introduces a new example that illustrates the idea in the topic sentence of your initial paragraph. So that's something to remember as you structure this essay for your Arabic paper. The other thing I want to talk to you about is paragraphs have to have unity. They have to have elaboration and coherence and style. And so I'm going to kind of break these down and talk about each one of them for you. All right, so unity is what it means. It unifies sentences into one paragraph. So in a unified paragraph, each sentence provides evidence and analysis for that initial topic sentence. And if you remember, a topic sentence introduces some specific idea, and it must support an aspect of the thesis statement. And so a topic sentence will include two parts. It will include the organization method that tells the reader how your paper is going to be organized, whether it's by time or place or ideas, and then the aspect of the thesis statement that you're going to talk about in that particular topic sentence. So here's an example. I'm not going to read it to you, but it's a thesis, and it's a paper about the play 12 Angry Men. And if you look at the topic sentence focuses on one aspect of the thesis statement. Right? So the thesis statement is talking about how one juror number 8, demonstrates logos rather than pathos. And so in order to do that, he's going to compare juror 8's methods to juror number 3, who uses fallacious emotional appeals. And so the topic sentence introduces that idea. Now, if you look at the highlighted text in each sentence, it actually unifies the paragraph as well as providing the evidence and the analysis of the idea in the topic sentence. Excuse me. The other idea is elaboration. So you've used elaboration before. You've been using it. It's when we talk about claim, data warrant, or claim, evidence, and commentary. The evidence, the commentary piece is your elaboration. And you can use direct quotations, you can use paraphrase, but the idea between those two things is you need to make sure that you are blending them with your analysis or your interpretive perspective, not just dumping them into your paper. A writer's interpretive perspective is what is the reason you're writing the paper, so that you are interpreting the work of literature. You can also use it to explain an idea. So for instance, if you're writing a paper on how a character displays courage, you might talk about an aspect of courage and explain what that aspect means or how it's demonstrated. And then you can also discuss a contemporary or a literary comparison. So maybe you want to compare something that's happening in Arabic to another short story from the same time period, or you want to use a cookie metaphor, although Ben is not going to use a cookie metaphor in his Arabic paper, although I think he would love to try. Coherence. So coherence is what reveals how your argument is linked together. So it's a relationship of one sentence to another, and it shows the reader what your logic is. I think writers a lot of times assume that the reader can read your mind. Like, it's obvious to you as the writer, so the reader would completely understand it. But that's not true, and that's not the reader's responsibility. It's your responsibility as a writer to explain that to the reader. So if you look back at the previous example from 12 Angry Men, you'll see that the writer uses language that ties each sentence together, like a link that builds. Okay? And then style. Style is individual. It's how I know it's your paper and your thoughts. It's how you structure your sentences, the diction you choose, your syntax, all that, your tone, that kind of reveals who you are as a writer in the paragraph, the paper. So I've created some steps for constructing your paragraph that I think might help you have a more effective body paragraph. And the first one is create the topic sentence. You have to have a topic sentence because the idea is that everything underneath it is what supports that idea. But once you've created your topic sentence, then you gather your evidence. So for instance, you're writing a paper on Araby right now. Perhaps you want to talk about religious imagery, but perhaps you want to divide that religious imagery up. Once you've listed all of it, you can see that some religious imagery relates only to the Virgin Mary, while others relate to the institution of worship, like when he's kneeling the window to watch her. It's very similar to like praying in church. So you might separate those ideas into different paragraphs using different topic sentences. And then once you've done that, then you'll apply the 4 strategies for drafting your paragraph. Okay. So the first one is to organize that evidence. So like I said, categorize it, look how you want to do it, and decide how you're going to organize your paper. So you can organize it by time, you can organize it by place, or you can organize it by ideas. Okay. So for this particular essay, I think time and ideas are your 2 best bets for organizing this paper. So I would look at those really closely and choose one of those for organizing your thoughts. Strategy 2 is to add the necessary transitions. Again, a lot of times we make the assumption that our ideas flow all together because they make complete sense to us as we're writing, but they might not necessarily make complete sense to the reader. So if you look at the example I've given you in this sentence, through examples in gesture and conversation, Dickens depicts Scrooge as miserly, stubborn, and pessimistic. For example, he keeps his door open so that he might keep an eye upon his clerk. So if you'll notice, like, we don't really know what the example is supporting because there's not really a transition there. To the writer, it might have made perfect sense. But to us as readers, we don't know what he's talking about. We'd like to see a stronger tie between what example that's supporting or what topic that's supporting. So if you look at the revision, through examples in gesture and conversation, Dickens depicts Scrooge as miserly, stubborn, and pessimistic. Scrooge displays his miserliness in his treatment of his employee. For example, he keeps his door open so that he might keep an eye upon his clerk, an eye always alert to anyone, including the clerk freezing by the dying embers of the fire, who might be tempted to replenish the fire with an extra log or 2. So if you'll see the sentence that's highlighted, actually tells us that the example that's being used is an example of him being miserliness, but it doesn't just stop with the example. After the example, it explains how that particular example exemplifies the idea of miserliness. And this writer does it in a concrete, very vivid and visual way, like we practiced in class. Strategy 3 is maintaining the topic string. So this is where you make sure that your topic is continuous throughout your paragraph. So you craft sentences so that whatever appears at the beginning of each supporting sentence maintains the reader's focus on that central idea. So the focus part of the sentence should act as some kind of connection, or what we call the topic string. This happens by repeating key words or using synonyms or pronouns for the topic's keywords. Strategy 4 is to go back and then make sure you've used word glue and logic glue for coherence. Okay? Word glue is wording that a writer will use to blend sentences together so that the reader fully understands the writer's thinking process. This is another case where you can repeat the topic word or the synonyms or pronouns as well as use transitional words like for example, to illustrate, next, furthermore. It really shows or guides the reader through your paper. Logic glue is when you take two sentences and put a relationship between them. It's implied. So like using and tells the reader there's going to be more information that connects to the previous sentence, but tells the reader that there's going to be a shift in the thoughts that came before. And so that's kind of how you connect and make sure that you have coherence in your paragraph. I hope this worked this time. This is my third time to try to get this information to you. I hope you've enjoyed your snow day. I hope you found some wonderful time to read, write, relax, and spend time with your family. So, I will see you all tomorrow.